You made a transition into the US, and you've worked with quite a lot of directors and filmmakers, both of you, who made a transition to the US, and in particular quite a few cameramen who worked in the Australian genre films like John Seale or
Russell Boyd?
Yeah, Russell Bowen and Dean Semler, all these guys now having Oscar credits, worked on with you. So actually, two questions: how does the transition from Australia to the US? How got it done? How was it? Who made it? Who approached who? Like, was it the studios from the US who approached you, or did the filmmakers themselves like go like with some kind of promo reel like that and propose themselves? And regarding the cameraman, was there some kind of film school where they learned their craft, because their camera work is tremendous?
About I haven't worked in America. Brian has extensively, but in terms of the cameraman, there has been a film school in Australia since 1973, but I worked with John Seale at the Australian Broadcasting Corporation in 1965. I worked with Dean Semler at Film Australia in 1970. Russell Boyd was working as a newsreel cameraman when I first met him in 1968, I think. Most of the cameramen, I think, Andrew Lesney, you might know his name, he is a graduate of the film school. And a couple of the younger cameramen, but most of these people came up through commercials, through newsreels, through the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, or through Film Australia. I think they're almost all of them very, very quick, terrific people to work with. Vincent Monton, who photographed Long Weekend, his background was commercials and television. He is incredibly fast, but all of them, I don't know, are very, very stylish and great to work with. And I know in our conversations we felt we were off to a good start if we had a good cameraman. John Seale, I should say, the very first film that John got a credit as director of photography was Death Cheaters. I'd like to say it was my idea, but in fact it was Brian's.
Yeah, John had done some second camera work on The Man from Hong Kong. He had the pleasure of photographing some of the stunts, sometimes from the inside of the car that was being crashed into. But I gave him the occasional bonus. He got to shoot the love scene between Wong Yu and Rebecca Gilling, where she displayed her ample charms. But he was obviously such a talent that when it came time for my next film, I thought, you should be the director of photography in your own right. So why don't you do this film, even though it doesn't pay very well, but you at least be the director of photography. And he continued on from there. But the other Australian cameramen that we were working with at that time, I think the reason, as Richard points out, they were very fast, and obviously if you're working on a low budget or a short schedule, you don't need, well, you need a cameraman who can paint with light, but he has to paint quickly. As most of the guys at that time, prior to the film school being started, came out of newsreel, documentary and television work, they were self-starters. They quickly knew, they had an eye for what angle something should be shot from, or where you'd catch the best backlight or side light or so forth. So they were very quick studies, so that was very helpful to fledgling directors who quickly picked up what they had learned. And I think that's why Australian cameramen have travelled so well all over the world, because they're quick, they're adaptable, they're easy to get along with. I'll give you one example. When John Seale shot Peter Weir's film Witness, his first big US film, there is this scene in the barn where there's a cow, they're doing something with a cow, milking a cow or something, and there is, there's a lot of straw around, and there's beautiful light coming through the cracks in the wall of the barn. And so John said to Peter, if we go quickly, we can use that. And the production people and the American gaffers, electricians and so forth said, "You're crazy, you'll get halfway through the sequence and then the light will go, and then we'll have to tent the whole barn, and we'll have to put up brute arcs, and we'll have to blast the light in through all those cracks, and you'll never get this scene done in time, and this is a really bad decision." Peter and John Seale stuck to their guns, and they shot the scene with available light, basically, and a little bit of fill, and you've got those beautiful shafts of light, a little bit of smoke, so you get those shafts coming up, and they shot it well before the sun changed position. So that's, that kind of grasp of the profession was learned in the get it done, mate, attitude of the early Australian film industry.